Hello subscribers and patrons, welcome back to the new show. My name's Random Rob, and today I wanted to talk about the island of Dr. Moreau, and in particular offer a defense of the reviled 1996 film, a movie adapted from H.G. Wells' 1896 novel of the same name. Wells' novel was an almost cathartic reaction to the scientific horrors of vivisection, which there had been some outcry against by people who were sympathetic to the plight of the animals, the apparent cruelty of the doctors, who seemed to be conducting experiments that seemed more like torture than the pursuit of useful scientific knowledge. And like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, would become one of the most well-remembered sci-fi horror novels of its day. The Island of Dr. Moreau is a book that has been adapted multiple times, notably the movies Island of Lost Souls from 1932, starring Charles Laughton and Bela Lugosi, The Island of Dr. Moreau from 1977, starring Michael York and Burt Lancaster, and in the disastrous 1996 adaptation based on a screenplay by Australian filmmaker Richard Stanley, who was originally going to direct the film, but ended up being replaced by American film director John Frankenheimer, who was brought in by the studio to salvage the troubled production. And whether or not you think the 1996 film is a steaming pile or not, I highly recommend the documentary Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau, because it is a fascinating document of a film shoot gone wrong. I found it just as interesting as the Hearts of Darkness documentary about Coppola's Apocalypse Now. Lost Soul gives you a lot of insight to an utter train wreck of a film, and it's really made more tragic by how promising the production could have been. Now, I will mention I have never seen The Island of Lost Souls, starring Charles Laughton, from 1932. It can be a difficult film to get a hold of. It was not a film that was rebroadcast when I was growing up. The only things I really know about it is that the character of Moreau in that film is more of a wisecracking white slaver kind of character, and that the beast folk are principally used as representations of evil, whereas the book and other adaptations don't especially make that distinction. The 1932 film did introduce the character of Lola, the Panther Woman, who was used in a somewhat exploitational way to get people to watch the movie. The character of the sympathetic Catwoman is a recurring character in these remakes, even though the Panther Woman character in the book The Island of Dr. Moreau is a very minor character, in that the only things we know about her is that she is secured to a table in the lab and Moreau is working on her when she escapes. Moreau pursues her, and in attempting to kill her is killed himself. The 1977 film with Burt Lancaster and Michael York, I don't have a particular feeling on either way. It's a passable adaptation, but not much else. It has some effective makeups in it. It also has quite a few not very effective makeups in it. The best thing about the 77 version, in my opinion, is Lancaster's performance. Lancaster makes a good Dr. Moreau. His physical presence is very much in keeping with the book. Moreau is supposed to be a large, powerful man. And this film would again use the character of the Catwoman as a love interest for the protagonist. I don't think the 1996 film is a great film, but I do not think it is a bad science fiction film. Nor do I think it is an especially bad adaptation of the Wells book. And this is where I want to talk about why I'm defending this film and why I think it deserves a second look, is because I don't think The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells is an especially good novel. I wouldn't consider it one of Wells' best works, nor do I really consider it a classic of literature. And my reasons for saying that are this. Most of what Wells' novel is about and what it is trying to convey is moral horror over animal experimentation. Although it touches on many interesting themes and ideas like animal experimentation, cruelty, altering the evolutionary path of a species, the ethical responsibility of science. These ideas are all part of the text of the novel, but Wells, aside from making the point that Moreau's experiments are immoral and horrifying, has nothing further to say in the novel about what's happening. There's no larger point. There's no deeper irony or exploration of the themes beyond the point of view of moral horror over what the narrator, Edward Prendick, discovers during his time on the island. So to me, The Island of Dr. Moreau is a novel that has an interesting premise, but essentially goes nowhere with it. And that is why I will defend the 1996 film. Whether it worked or not, or whether it was effective or not, Richard Stanley was interested in the larger implications of the story and tried to flesh it out some more. One of the things that the film does that I appreciate is presenting the idea that Montgomery might actually be worse than Moreau, and that a person like Montgomery is the more problematic evil. Is Moreau insane and immoral and essentially an evil character? Yes, probably. But it's the character of Montgomery, the man who is willing to engage in atrocities and cruelty because he's getting a paycheck, is really the more insidious. The person who looks the other way for money. There's a lot of things I like about this film. I like David Thewlis' performance. I think he's a terrific actor. I think Marlon Brando's performance, even though it's completely over the top and bizarre, isn't especially outside of the bounds of what the story calls for. In fact, the scene in the film where the beast folk have removed their pain-inducing microchips and come to Moreau in his study to confront him is a terrific horror scene, mainly because of Brando's performance. At one point, one of the Beastmen is banging on the piano, and this is what causes Moreau to come into the room. He hears the piano being played, and then he goes over and starts banging on the keys himself, and then starts explaining whole tone music to the Beastmen, not realizing they're about to kill him. It's a great moment. It's also what I would say is really the last good scene in the film. It's after Brando left, and the story called for Val Kilmer's character, Montgomery, to go on his own God trip. The movie really takes a turn for the worse there. Mostly because Kilmer clearly doesn't seem to give a shit. And although a lot of the tension that was happening on the set is not on the screen in this film, there is one moment late in the film where Thewlis and Kilmer are in a close-up shot together. And I forget what Kilmer's lines are at this point, but Thewlis slaps him across the face really hard. And I have no doubt it was spontaneous. And that they left it in because they thought it was funny. But getting away from the notorious fights between Brando and Kilmer and the director, John Frankenheimer, the one place where I think this film really excelled was in the practical makeups of the Beast People. Not only that, but the actors who played the Beast People really getting into character as animals. Some of the performances are really amazing. I also appreciated that they used little touches of the computer here and there to just speed up the Beast People's movement or make it seem like they were jumping a further distance than they were without resorting to creating CG characters of the animals. They didn't do that in this movie, and it's to the film's advantage. And for the most part, I find the general filmmaking to be a very competently done film. Up to the point Dr. Moreau is killed and the main focus of the film becomes Montgomery. So in conclusion, in my opinion, Wells' book is an overrated classic that never really had a strong theme in it aside from moral revulsion over experimentation. And that according to that standard, the 1996 film is not a particularly bad adaptation. And regardless of its reviled status, it's arguably still the most ambitious version of the book ever attempted. So that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this little informal talk about the 1996 movie and the book. If you liked what you heard, please press the like button and subscribe, and consider becoming a patron of the new show. I could use your help. Alright, till next time, this is Random Rob, signing off. Bye-bye.